Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. For indeed, without any doubt, we have created the insan in toil. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informing us very directly that this life as we know it was never meant to be perfect. That there will be moments of discomfort where it will be sometimes too hot, sometimes too cold, sometimes too dry, sometimes too wet, sometimes this and sometimes that. That is what I call the reality on the ground. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in so many different places, He has not only informed us of this reality, but He has also informed us that this is a very intentional, deliberate reality that was decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from His wisdom. In Surah Al-Kahf, for example, Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says that we have made, and this is the decree and the decision of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, everything upon the earth as a beautification, as a attraction, right? Something that is enticing, deliberately, so that we can test and try to see which of you is best in your actions. And this verse tells us that the test of life and the trials of our lives is something that is very, very deliberate, right? And in light of recent events, not just the genocide that is occurring in Gaza, but over the past year years rather, we have witnessed so many calamities and afflictions in ourselves and in our ummah and the world altogether. We had the earthquakes in Morocco, in Syria, in Turkey, and the landslide in Libya, and before that was the rise of COVID. And I think it is time that we re-internalize this reality and we bring this back to the forefront of our minds, that this life was not meant to be a paradise. It was meant to be a place of test and examination. And so deliberate is this test that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, حُفَّتِ الْجَنَّةِ بِالْمَكَارِهِ, that the paradise, it was deliberately surrounded by things that we dislike, adversity, difficulty, challenging things that we want to avoid as much as possible if we had the choice. And then he said, حُفَّتِ النَّارِ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ, and that the hellfire, it was, again, deliberately surrounded by things that we desire, things that are enticing to us. And that was recorded in Muslim, and another narration that is found with Tirmidhi and Nasa'i and Abi Dawood, which expounds upon this reality, Hadith Qudsi, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created the paradise. And He created the hellfire. He sent the angel, this narration by Abu Hurairah says, the angel Jibril, to go and look at the paradise. And he was so impressed, and I'm paraphrasing, that he couldn't imagine. He could not imagine that anyone would hear, not see, that anyone would hear about the paradise and not enter it. Meaning not do what is necessary to go into the paradise just by hearing about it. Subhanallah. Right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused it to be surrounded by the makarih, those things that are difficult. And then He told the angel to go back and look. And the angel went to see, and he returned to Allah, and his concern was, rather his fear was, now that it has been surrounded by this adversity, that no one would be able to enter it. Everyone is going to turn away and run away from this opportunity. And I want us to think, and I'm going off track a little bit, but this Jannah and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is such that it should be sought at every cost. that there is nothing that should ever stand between us and that opportunity to arrive at the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then vice versa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he sent him to go look at the hellfire, right? And he did so, and he returned, and his sentiment, and again I'm paraphrasing, is that no one, not who sees it, but hears about the hellfire, right, would not escape it. Anyone who hears about it, they would do anything in their capacity to avoid the hellfire. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he surrounded it by that which is enticing, that which is desirable, and he sent the angel back to now go look, and the angel returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his concern is that no one, now that is surrounded by all of this temptation, no one would ever be able to avoid it, right? And the general point of reference for that narration is to show you how deliberate the trial of our lives is, the test of our life is, and inshallah to bring it closer to home, right? Because I want to talk this month, inshallah, about the significance of trials and some of the benefits and the opportunities that are presented by the test that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uniquely tailors for each and every one of us, to bring it closer to home as I close the test of fasting. How central and how essential is food to our everyday lives? The standard in this society is that we eat how many meals a day, right? 3 meals in general every single day, right? The head of the household, he's working 8 to 12 hours a day. Why? So that he can bring home the bread, so that he can put food on the table. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deliberately created us and made us dependent upon these things, and then he commanded us to fast, to abstain from those things. And in this test of fasting, we have the opportunity to make an amazing expression. 13, 14 hours out of the day, what are we saying with our fasting? We are telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that my desire for your pleasure is greater than my desire for the greatest necessities, food and drink. My yearning for your mercy, my yearning for your forgiveness, and this is what we're saying with our fasting, is greater than my basic life necessities. And this is a grand expression. And perhaps this is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, as I close, that كُلُّ عَمَلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ لَهُ إِلَّا صَوْمٌ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ, that all of the deeds of the sons of Adam is for him except for fasting fasting is for me, right? And I am the one who rewards for it. So the tests that we have in this life, they are an opportunity for us to express sentiments that perhaps we would not be able to do with other circumstances or even upon our tongues. We could never say that for 13, 14 hours straight, but with our fasting, that is the expression that we're making. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.